A source with the Dutch National Police confirming to ABC News that Minaj was arrested at the airport this afternoon on suspicion of exporting soft drugs.
What am I doing? What am I doing? I never gave anyone my, so I'm under arrest.
Yes.
But
a few moments later.
And not only that, but just knowing that something is being done to you on purpose, simply because you are a confident other race.
She alleged via X that the pre-rolled belonged to her security. She also claimed that this is how they plant things in your luggage with regards to the search, which she said delayed her flight by 2 hours.
So does anyone really think that Nicki Minaj was stopped at an airport in Amsterdam after doing a big show there because she was black? Okay, so the facts of the story here are pretty simple. Rap superstar Nicki Minaj does a show in Amsterdam. She leaves the show, heads to the airport, goes through airport security. They find weed in one of the bags.
Saturday, as the 41-year-old was preparing to fly to the UK for a concert in Manchester, authorities stopping the rapper, alleging they found marijuana pre-rolls in her luggage.
Now, the police reports say they found dozens of pre-rolls. Now, the argument that Minaj was making at the time is that the bag where the pre-rolls were found was her bag, but the actual pre-rolls belonged to the security guard. And security guard said, yeah, those are my pre-rolls, even though they're in her bag.
She alleged via X that the pre-rolled belonged to her security.
Now, when contraband is found in someone's bag, they generally claim, hey, that's not mine.
You're also under arrest for possession with intent to supply a Class A drug, mate. The big wraps of what?
That's not mine. That's not mine.
What's in your bag?
That's not mine. That's not mine. I promise you, that's not mine. 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 That's not mine.
Anton,
it's not mine.
It's
not mine. I don't know how it's in there. It's not mine.
Anton, listen.
Nah, they're trying to say this big rap.
Joe, Peewits.
No way. No.
Anton, listen.
Nah, it's not mine. It's not mine. It's not mine, man.
But we gotta be real. Finding drugs in someone's bag generally is going to lead to an arrest. Now, the first question that should be coming up is, hey Nate, weed is legal in Amsterdam. So why is she getting arrested in Amsterdam for weed? And simply put, just because it's legal to consume the product in Amsterdam doesn't mean you can take it out of Amsterdam. Same thing happens here in the United States. For instance, weed is 100% legal in California, but if you try to take weed on a plane out of California, then you probably are going to get arrested.
I'm about to show you, it's kind of hard to imagine that a person thought they'd be able to take all of this marijuana onto a plane at LAX. Well, LAX police stopped them and seized it all. Take a look at the photos that they posted on their social media. This is what LAX police say is 2 bags of marijuana totaling 75 pounds that a passenger tried to get through security at LAX.
Now, before we get into the rest of the video, I want to tell you about this new partnership I have with D. Miller and Associates, PLLC. Now, over the years that I've had this channel, the number one question I generally get from fans is, can I help them with their legal issue? Now, because my fan base is nationwide, I needed a law firm to partner with who can help people on a nationwide basis. This is where D. Miller and Associates come in. They've handled over 52,000 cases and recovered over $500 million. As an example, when it comes to something like personal care products, where unexpected risks can emerge, especially with hair relaxers that contain harmful chemicals that have been linked to cause cancer, or for first responders who use aqueous film-forming foam. That's the foam that first responders and firefighters use to put out chemical fires. Well, that foam has been linked to cause serious health issues like cancer. Now, we specialize in handling these types of cases and are committed to securing the compensation you deserve. Now, you can give us a call at 83-DIAL-NATE, that's 83-DIAL-NATE, or visit the website link in the description and pinned comment. Now, remember, the consultation is 100% free and you won't pay unless we win your case. Now, visit the link in the description or pinned comment. Operators are standing by to assist you in the process. Now, the facts seem simple, but the spin is the problem. So, as your friendly neighborhood lawyer, I saw these 2 gentlemen debating this particular topic. Was it racist that Nicki Minaj got pulled over in Amsterdam with all this weed in her bag? Now, because there's a debate, I'm not going to tell you who's representing what side. I'm just going to let you hear their arguments and come to a conclusion on which side do you think is more reasonable about this issue.
That right there, Quanell, was Nicki Minaj blaming the fact that she was a member of a confident other race.
Not only that, but just knowing that something is being done to you on purpose, simply because you are a confident other race.
For being arrested in the Netherlands by the Dutch military police for having dozens of pre-rolled marijuana cigarettes in her luggage. Now, this is Nikki, who likes to throw the race card. People remember that she tried to falsely accuse her husband's rape victim of being white, an African-American woman. She was quoted as saying in an interview that, well, you know, white is right.
Something that he was wrongfully accused of doing when he was 15 years old, all because he didn't have $7,000 to get himself bailed out. Because when you in the hood at 15, you don't have that kind of money, neither does your family. And when the alleged accuser wrote a letter to the judge asking to recant these statements, she was told that she would go to jail for 90 days, allegedly, if she recants the statement. But white is right.
And you don't get to paint a picture of, you know, this narrative that they put out. You know, I'm a white girl who falsely accused a black boy. You don't get to do that. It doesn't matter what race you are. You know, you should be able to speak up and...
Suggesting that she fabricated the allegations against her husband, who was not guilty of the sexual assault that he was very much guilty of.
Now, Nicki Minaj's husband is Kenny Petty, and this guy has a long criminal history. On the screen, you're looking at 15 different mugshots for this guy. And there's more. This is just all I can fit on one screen. Here are some highlights of his criminal history.
According to court docs, Petty's criminal history includes a 1996 conviction of attempted in the first degree. He was 16 at the time and served almost 4 years in a New York state prison for the crime. He also served another 7 years in New York for manslaughter and was released in 2013.
Also, the Nicki Minaj who defended her brother against allegations of the fact that he an 11-year-old, and now he's spending decades in prison for that.
5 o'clock, the brother of rap star Nicki Minaj convicted of sexually assaulting a young girl inside his home on Long Island.
That verdict coming down late this afternoon.
A judge has sentenced Jelani Mirage in court, and Jelani Mirage is Nicki Minaj's brother. He was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison following the guilty verdict in his child trial. So,
well, he earned him 25 years.
But the Dutch military police, they clapped back. They called it annoying that she threw that card. But this is just another example of someone who got caught red-handed breaking the law, who feels like they're above the law, feels like they're entitled to do whatever they want, being a crybaby about what? She spent about 4.5 hours in custody and paid a $350 fine for something she could have had a much more serious consequence with, for something she could have been locked up in jail for. But instead, this woman trying to import drugs illegally is just being a crybaby and saying, oh, no, it's my skin color. Absolute nonsense, Quanell.
So now you heard the radical liberal side. All right, it's not the radical liberal side, but you've heard one opinion. Now you're going to hear the other side, and unless you've been living under a rock, you know which side that is. So let's hear what he's going to say about the racism of the Dutch police.
I don't believe that Sister Nicki Minaj was attempting to import drugs. I believe that the marijuana that was found is obviously was for personal consumption for whoever it was that was using it.
That's bringing drugs with her somewhere she can't bring them.
But you brought up about her brother. You brought up about her ex-husband, etc.
Well, she seems to like
what took place right here in the Netherlands.
Okay.
It's obvious you have not done your research about the Dutch's mistreatment of black people. The Dutch went all throughout Africa for over 160 years, colonizing many different African nations and enslaving Africans, and did not allow them to go into the Netherlands. And if you do research about the Netherlands right now and their treatment of black people and African immigrants, the racism, Ray Charles can see it.
Between the years of 1596 and 1829, the Dutch transported about 500,000 Africans across the Atlantic to their settlements in the New World. The Dutch would send their ships to West Africa filled with weapons, ammunition, liquor, and textiles in exchange for slaves. Slaves were taken to the Dutch Guyana, most notably in Suriname, to work on cotton, sugar, and coffee plantations. The Netherlands was one of the last countries to abolish slavery. Although the decision was made in 1848, it wasn't until 1873 that slaves in the Dutch Guyana were given their freedom.
With all the stuff that's been going on, right, it's got me thinking about my childhood and moving from Lagos at around 8, 9, 10 to Holland and like doing pretty much all of secondary school in Holland. To be very honest with you, if you were expecting me to come on here and say, oh, I experienced so much racism in Holland and blah, 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 it's not the case, right? I personally wasn't racially targeted per se. I mean, there were a few ignorant comments here and there, but there was nothing like outrightly racist.
This black woman said that she felt that her race played a role. Now, her past comments about her ex-husband, her ex-brother, her brother was in prison, that ain't got a damn thing to do about this particular incident. She experienced it, she lived it, and she has a right to speak her mind about what she personally went through. The Dutch has always been brutal, disrespectful, and hateful toward black people. This doesn't surprise me.
This is so it's inappropriate for me to talk about her falsely throwing a race card in the past, in the recent past, about trying to say this black victim of her husband was white. So that you call that irresponsible, but you bring up conduct from 200 or 300 years ago
to remind you white folks who want to pretend like your history is irrelevant and immaterial.
Just to be
we celebrate rapists in America. We celebrate rapists in America. It's called President's Day.
Now, his rebuttal to the fact that Nicki Minaj was defending her husband who was convicted of that thing, the R word. He says it's because we celebrate the R word and that's President's Day. When you don't have a good argument, you say stuff like this.
Right? At the end of the day, this was somebody who illegally had drugs secreted in her luggage. And you know what she did? She immediately blamed her security guard, right? She didn't even take ownership of it. So
did she blame or told the truth? Was she telling the truth or was she blaming?
Oh, it was because I was black, but it was also his fault. So she's busy snitching while she's also busy throwing the race card.
She might have been telling the truth, Charles.
A $350
She might have been telling the truth.
Well, those are facts. She did snitch out the security guard and then throw the race card out, right? Hey, it was my security guard's weed, but they racist anyway, right? So that did happen.
Charles. This is an entitled woman who has been abusive to so many people. Instead of saying, hey, you know what, I messed up. I thought weed was legal in Amsterdam. I thought it was cool. I didn't realize I was violating the law. I paid my fine. I went home. She could have said that. She could have been a grown-ass woman and said that.
But she's not allowed to speak about her personal experience.
But instead,
how she was treated, how she was handled.
It's only because I was in a confident race. She's a liar. She's been a liar. She continues to be a liar.
So, now, I'm sorry, people. When you go to the airport and they check your luggage and they find weed in it, I don't think it's because you're black. I think it's because you got weed in the bag, and that happens to be illegal. So I gotta see how they spin this, but they did find weed in her bag. She's not saying the weed wasn't there. She's just saying it wasn't hers.
Okay. And in particular, black women, when they bring out the race card, they are absolutely scrutinized and criticized about playing a race card as though what they're saying is not real.
You know what
Charles, there are some people who do fake the race card issue.
Shout out to Jussie Smollett.
But I'm saying in this case, if she truly felt that with a people who have such a shameful history dealing with black people like the Dutch do, you got to give it benefit of the doubt.
He would have said the same thing about Jussie Smollett, right? Hey, there's a history of racism in Chicago. You got to give him the benefit of the doubt. That is his argument. Because 200 years ago they had African slaves, you got to give her the benefit of the doubt that they're racist today. That argument is ridiculous.
That comes to the country and is smuggling drugs and gets caught, right? And just like everyone else.
Now she's a drug smuggler.
Well, she was smuggling drugs.
For a few marijuana cigarettes?
No, it was dozens. I think it was 3,200.
So 32 little weed joints.
Okay.
Did you catch that, Freeman? 32 little weed joints? That's a lot of weed. If you got 32 pre-rolls, yeah. Come on, that's not nothing.
But she was
and
smuggling.
She said it was the bodyguards, not hers.
Okay, they were
but now she's a drug smuggler.
They were in her luggage.
So if she's a smuggler,
caught,
she's selling weed now.
Guilty,
so she brought the weed to sell weed in Netherlands.
No, that's not a smuggler.
So she ain't no drug smuggler then, Charles.
She brought it in for her personal use. She's still smuggling it.
Smuggling no drugs, man.
Okay, and I'm all for weed, right? But the problem is, if you get caught doing something wrong, instead of making up some nonsense and you supporting her with more nonsense, talking about 400 years ago,
clapback.
this is
you
a
support
woman.
The cops clapback.
This is a woman that got busted. She got a little bitty 350
I
year old.
agree with you.
And she's maligning public
But
servants
she
that were just
spoke
doing her
about
damn
her
job
personal experience,
because she's a
Charles.
liar, a coward, and a disgusting
Because you will
person
never know
who
what it
loves
is to
her
be
some
black in
rapists.
America.
So-
This is like how a lot of my arguments go with some of my friends nowadays. Except for the whole, you don't know what it means to be black in America. I'm like, I kind of do. Don't get me wrong. Racism is real. I'm not saying racism is not real. What I am saying is that it's not as extreme as they're trying to make it sound. This guy's got us living back in the 1800s and saying we got to give people the benefit of the doubt as racist because they had slaves back in the 1800s. That is ridiculous. I can point to Africans who've had slaves this century. So, does that mean everybody from African descent is initially suspect? That makes no sense. So let me know who you think had the better argument. Was it Quadnell X or was it Big Angry Adams? And before you get out of here, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all that great YouTube stuff. My name is Nate the Lawyer, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.